Welcome to Magnificat TV News, dedicated to offering news from the Church. Today is Wednesday, June 9, 2021. The Pope has approved an important reform of the canon law. This reform punishes with excommunication those who attempt to ordain women. Cardinal Marx had resigned as Archbishop of Munich due to a child abuse case in Germany in which he might be implicated. Cardinal Mueller has declared, after the resignation of Cardinal Marx, that he has been the most responsible for the errors committed of the German synodal process. Cardinal Public of Sarajevo has rejected the proposals being discussed in the German Synod and says that they are not suitable for his faithfuls. The U.S. Embassy to the Holy See has decided to wave the multicolored flag of the LGBTQ movement on his front during the month of June. The priestly ordination of women will be punished with excommunion. This is what the Pope has decided by reforming the Code of Canon Law.
With the Apostolic Constitution Pacite Gregum Dei, Pope Francis has reformed Book 6 of the Code of Canon Law. This work of revision has already begun under Benedict XVI.
The most important aspect has been that the crime of abuse of minors is now included in the category that also includes the crimes of homicide and abortion and crimes against life, liberty, and the dignity of the person.
But it also updates other crimes, for example, that of the ordination of women. The new code sentences that anyone who attempts to confer holy orders on a woman, as well as a woman who attempts to receive holy orders, incurs latae sententiae, excommunication, reserved to the Apostolic See. Latae sententiae means that the excommunication is immediate.
Moreover, one who administers sacraments to those who are forbidden to receive it should be punished at least by suspension from the priestly state. This could apply to those who give communion to Protestants or to abortionist politicians.
As might be expected, the reform of the Code of Canon Law affecting the crime of conferring priestly orders on women has not gone down well with the German Catholic Women's Association. Its vice president stated that it is a great disappointment and another slap in the face for us women.
The Archbishop of Munich, Cardinal Marx, has presented his resignation. It is due to the Church involvement in child abuse in which he himself could be affected.
Cardinal Marx has asked the Pope to accept his resignation as Archbishop of Munich. In a statement, Marx said that in recent months he had repeatedly thought about resigning from the post.
Cardinal Marx did not offer to resign as a cardinal, nor as a member of Pope Francis's Council of Cardinal Advisors, which is responsible for reforming the Vatican Constitution, nor did he offer to resign as president of the Vatican's Council for the Economy.
In the letter to the Pope, Marx explains that his main concern is to take joint responsibility for the catastrophe of sexual abuse committed by the Church officials in recent decades.
Marx said he is willing to take personal responsibility, not only for my possible mistakes, but for the institution of the Church, which I have helped shape for decades.
In early May, a leading canonist, Thomas Schuler, said Cardinal Marx could tender his resignation to the Pope if suspicions about his actions in an abuse case were confirmed.
The case dates back to the time when Marx was Bishop of Trier from the year 2000 and refers to the abuses carried out by a priest who, after being denounced, continued in contact with children and young people and even went on vacation with them with the permission of his superiors.
The complaint also concerns Marx's two successors in Trier, Bishop Botzing, current Bishop of Limburg, and president of the German episcopate, and the current Bishop of Trier, Bishop Ackermann. If the facts are confirmed, the three prelates would be obliged to present their resignation to the Pope.
Cardinal Mueller has declared, after the resignation of Cardinal Marx, that he has been the most responsible for the errors committed of the German synodal process.
On the day of Cardinal Marx's resounding resignation as Archbishop of Munich over the abuse scandal, Cardinal Mueller made a statement of La Nuova Bussola Quotidiana, a well-known Italian blog.
This so-called synodal path, said Mueller, has failed because it goes against divine law and Marx is responsible. Now he wants to put the burden of responsibility on the Pope, who is his friend, to solve the problems created by his closeness to the Protestants.
According to Mueller, the Church is not a political institution, but the German bishops do not want a schism. They want to lead a nationalist church, thinking that they are the future of the universal church. The Pope must do more for the unity of the faith. The climate and migrants are important but secondary issues.
Marx, according to Mueller, is responsible for this synodal failure, while now he blames it on a generic failure of the Church. The Church is at a standstill, were his words. But this is unacceptable. He wants to burden the Pope, who is his friend, with the task of solving the problems that he himself has trampled on.
During the interview, Mueller said that the crisis of the Church in Germany is linked to the proximity of the Lutheran Protestants, who cannot be an example for us since they have a worse situation than ours, with the female priesthood and married clergy, besides not respecting the indissolubility of marriage.
Cardinal Pulik of Sarajevo has rejected the proposals being discussed in the German Synod and says that they are not suitable for his faithfuls.
Cardinal Pulik has declared that the exotic ideas of the German synodal way are alien to his church. A church that has overcome the challenge of communism does not have such exotic ideas. In fact, such attitudes offend and shock our believers.
Cardinal Pulik was asked whether Catholics in his Archdiocese of Sarajevo were interested in issues such as the ordination of women and the abolition of priestly celibacy.
His response was categorical. A church that has overcome the challenge of communism does not have such exotic ideas. In fact, such attitudes offend and astonish our believers. We cannot understand a church in which sacrifice is a strange word, and there is a Jesus without a cross.
There can be discussions on any topic, but based on the gospel and not based on secularism and relativism. Religious arbitrariness has settled in the life of the Church, but we must return to the original gospel.
The U.S. Embassy to the Holy See has decided to wave the multicolor flag of the LGBTQ movement on his front during the month of June.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced earlier this year that U.S. embassies and consulates around the world could fly the gay pride flag on the same flagpole as the American flag.
June is celebrated as Gay Pride Month by people who identify as LGBTQ. During the Trump administration, U.S. diplomatic buildings were prohibited from flying the rainbow flag on embassy flagpoles.
Antony Blinken's directive on pride flags advised that diplomatic buildings of certain countries avoid flying the rainbow flag, if doing so would create a backlash, the case, for example, of Muslim and some African countries.
It is a coincidence that most probably this June, U.S. President Joe Biden will visit Rome and meet with the Pope. After supporting gender ideology, he will go to meet with the pontiff who rejects this ideology.
Our editorial this week is dedicated to commenting on the reforms of the Code of the Canon Law approved by the Pope.
This week, the Pope has approved an important modification of the Code of Canon Law. Although the media in general have focused on the changes that refer to the protection of minors, to the punishment of those who abuse minors, including those who spread or possess child pornography, there are other points in this modification of the code that have gone unnoticed and that seem to me very important, especially those that refer to the Eucharist, to the priesthood, and as a consequence, to the Eucharist. For example, I'm going to read some of the paragraphs. For example, in Canon 1379, in item 3, it is said, both he who has attempted to confer holy orders on a woman and the woman who has attempted to receive holy orders incur in late sententia excommunication reserved to the Apostolic See, as well as the cleric can be punished with dismissal from the clerical state. The door is closed. He who has tried, says the new canon. He who has tried, it does not say he who has succeeded, but he who has tried. It is saying with this that it would not be more than attempt. That even if the liturgical celebration of ordination of a woman had been done apparently fulfilling all the rules, it would not be more than attempt. The referred ordination would not have taken place, first of all. Secondly, it speaks of sacred orders. Therefore, it is speaking not only of the priesthood, but also of the deaconate. It is closing the access of women to the deaconate and to the priesthood, naturally to the episcopate as well. Moreover, it explicitly says that are punished with late sententia excommunication. That is, automatic excommunication, those involved in the ceremony. Both the one who wants to give holy orders to the woman, it would be a bishop, who are the only ones who can ordain priests, and the woman herself who agrees to it. Automatic excommunication. A person who has received the automatic late sententia excommunication, it may be that as long as it is not public, although he knows, or she, if it is a woman, that he is excommunicated, can continue to exercise his ministry, in this case, for example, of the bishop. But when it is public, and a diaconal or priestly ordination would never be an act that they would do hidden in a chapel, where only the attendees would be those involved. When it is public, that excommunication immediately exercises its effect. They can even be expelled from the priesthood, from the episcopate. Attempt, they're not even going to get it. That hasn't happened. To all holy orders, including the deaconate, and excommunication to the one who attempts it, both to the bishop and the one who intends to confer the orders, as well as to the woman who intends to receive them. It is a door definitely closed and very clear, categorical. These are not the only canons that make reference to the Eucharist and other disobediences to the Pope's orders, although they are not as clear and categorical as this one. For example, Canon 1371 in the first item says, whoever does not obey the Apostolic See, the ordinary or the superior who legitimately commands or forbids him, and after admonition persists in his disobedience, must be punished according to the gravity of the case with censure or deprivation of office. This could be interpreted as affecting those who have made the blessing of homosexual couples when it was explicitly forbidden. Surely it is more debatable, because the excommunication of those who try to ordain women is very clear. This is possibly more debatable, but it is debatable. it could be interpreted, and therefore it could be interpreted, and the conclusion could be drawn that all those who have made these blessings must be sanctioned in some way, including deprivation, expulsion from the priesthood. Also in Canon 1382, item 1, it is stated, "Whoever profanes the consecrated species, or takes them away, or keeps them for sacrilegious purposes, incurs late sententia excommunication," automatic excommunication, reserved to the Apostolic See. The cleric can also be punished with other penalties, not excluding expulsion from the clerical state. And this can be perfectly understood as something applicable, whoever profanes the consecrated species, something applicable to those who have given communion to Protestants. Because they have consciously profaned the consecrated species. They have been profaned explicitly, knowing that it was forbidden. I repeat, it is not so clear, it is debatable, but it seems to me that there is a way to go against those who are profaning the Eucharist. The Eucharist is the most sacred thing that we Catholics have. It is the body and blood of Christ. It is the Lord. Whatever is done to defend the Eucharist is necessary to do it. As it was natural, immediately the reaction has occurred. One of the main German Catholic feminist leaders has strongly criticized the Pope for having closed the door to the deaconate and the priesthood. It was obvious. It was obvious because the Pope has made with this a categorical and definitive exercise of authority. No Pope will be able to modify this. It is not that no Pope can modify the Code of Canon Law. It is that this is not being approved by a Pope labeled as conservative, as a John Paul II or a Benedict XVI, but a Pope that everyone considers progressive. Some will criticize him and others will applaud him, but everyone considers him progressive. And this Pope, Pope Francis, has made it clear that whoever attempts, because he will not succeed, because it is not only invalid but useless, whoever attempts the diaconal or priestly ordination of a woman is excommunicated, and so is she. This has no appellatives, this has no interpretations, this is very clear. I wish he had been as clear about the profanation of the Eucharistic species. Frankly, yes. I wish he had been clearer and had referred explicitly to priests who give communion while being aware that the one who received communion should not receive it. This would have also included the one who gives communion to the abortionist politicians. Well, I believe that we must value what has already been promulgated with this reform of the code, which is a lot and very important because by defending the priesthood, the Eucharist is defended as well. And we must continue praying that the reforms continue to take place, and may the Eucharist, which is, I repeat, the greatest thing we have, always be protected, defended, honored, and loved. See you next time, God willing.
If you would like to keep up to date with what is happening in the church, you can visit our news page, www.magnificat.tv. See you next week, God willing.